Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome into Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name's Ghetto Pat.
And I don't have a cool outfit here today, but my name's Dill. And I think it's really fitting that we're here with Ghetto Pat because earlier
Yeah.
today we are recording this on November 16th. We both got to see Chloe Zhao's Hamnet, which you could argue is the main contender with Ghetto Pat for the Oscar this year. And we both
Yeah.
had pretty different takes on the movie.
Dylan, what's happening this year? What
Hey,
the hell is happening this year?
that is what people come to this channel for. We see it in the comments, we see it on Discord,
hmm
we see it on Reddit. Y'all like the fact that we don't agree on a lot of stuff and we have different taste and takes in movies. And
Yeah.
I think this year, more so than any other year, our tastes are different, but they're different in the ways that you wouldn't expect. You would expect on paper for you to be the Hamnet fan and me
Yeah.
not to be the Hamnet fan.
I'm a huge fan of Chloe Zhao. And I was like, I'm ready for this film to destroy me. And then it was like 15 minutes into the movie, and I was like, boy, I sure hope I start liking this more. But you typically don't like Chloe Zhao. You have been saying all year long, like, oh God, I'm probably not going to like Hamnet. And now you loved Hamnet. I will say, though, I wasn't all miserable this week. I loved No Other Choice. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I loved Train Dreams more than I ever expected to. So those were two positives. But since we're both coming off of Hamnet, why don't we start with Hamnet's one surefire win category, Best Actress, which I think we can safely say, regardless of our personal opinions on this, Jessie Buckley is going to sweep the season.
She should. I'm going to put a small asterisk there just because we've seen in recent races stuff that should happen sometimes diverts weirdly at places like Ki Kwan losing at BAFTA. How'd that
Yeah.
happen? But barring something like that, I agree. Buckley will sweep any category that she's in at the major televised shows. And I've seen so much discussion about Rose Byrne's going to lead the critic groups. No, Buckley's going to lead those two. And Buckley's just going to go coast to coast all season long. I might even be as bold to say that she pulls like a Divine Joy Randolph from a few years ago where she just wins so much off the back of how much people adore her because she's built up a catalog in the last few years, as well as how much people adore this movie and her performance inside the movie.
It's an interesting thing where I love Jessie Buckley. I was not too impressed by this performance on a personal level. One thing I will say, there's a moment at the very end when she's portraying the worst audience member of all time. And I thought that was really good. Like it was a really good portrayal of someone who has no idea how to act in a theater.
I think your number 2 and 3 in the best lead actress category are directly pulling from the stage because obviously
Yeah.
we have Cynthia Erivo in Wicked for Good pulling a performance that was made iconic on the Broadway stage. And then you have Renata Reinsve in Sentimental Value, who's playing an actress who primarily acts on the stage inside of her movie. So I think you could have these two in any order that you want. It more so comes from, do you think Reinsve is going to win a lot of critics groups, or do you think Erivo is taking the Globe? Or do those both happen? They're still battling in a distant number two, where at the end of the day, who really matters because your number one is locked, sealed, signed, delivered.
That's a great way to put it. Who really matters in number two? Personally, I think Renata Reinsve will take some of those critics away from Jessie Buckley. Not many critics, but some of those critics groups will lean Renata Reinsve. I could see Renata Reinsve take one of the trifecta prizes, as well as Rose Byrne could take one of the trifectas. And of course, Cynthia Erivo is my number 3. Although honestly, Rose Byrne could also win Globe Comedy, which is weird because I don't see If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You as a comedy in the slightest.
I think it will be an interesting thing this year at the Globes for how will they divvy up these winners, because the same thing goes over for like drama actor, where you clearly have someone who's going to be in a picture nominee, a Revo in Wicked or with Michael B. Jordan in Sinners, and people are largely predicting someone who probably won't have their film come along with like Wagner Moura and with Rose Byrne. So are they going to go away from the film that clearly has more passion, or are they going to go with, hey, we like this movie and clearly we like this performance as well? Interesting stuff to think about. But yes, moving down our list, I think that's where the questions really start, is at number 4. A lot of people out there probably would have Rose Byrne. I currently still have her on the outside looking in. Do you have her top 5, or is she your first one out, kind of
No,
following the
I have
footsteps
Rose
of Marion
Byrne.
Jean-Baptiste from last year?
I have Rose Byrne in my top 5. I think that there will be enough love when you get to those higher brow groups. You might see Jessie Buckley slip for Rose Byrne. But currently, my number 4 and number 5, after the top 3 of Buckley, Reinsve, Erivo, I finish off my list with Chase Infinity and Rose Byrne. She's the little indie that could. And after seeing The Testament of Anne Lee this week, I removed Amanda Seyfried from my top five for Chase Infinity coming along with a big Best Picture movie. Yeah, she's a newcomer, but I feel like this movie is going to have enough love. And if I'm predicting it everywhere else, why not Chase Infinity, who is frequently singled out as one of the best performers, if not the best performer in the film?
It's a fun thing with this best leading actress categories. We're checking off all the boxes. You have Byrne and Infinity. I have Emma Stone and Amanda Seyfried, and some other people out there might have Kate Hudson. But I do agree with your points about Chase Infinity. I want to move her into my top five. And going back to a comment we had on a few episodes ago, that this leading actress category tends to go for newer faces, but never actresses who this is their first on-screen performance. At least I think since
Not since Yalitza
Wallace
Aparicio.
or Absolutio too in Roma. Yeah,
Yeah.
she fits the bill for first on-screen performance, and that's my hold up with Infinity. Where if she does truly sweep all of the breakthrough categories, taking it away from Miles Caden, from Jacoby Jupe and Hamnet, or whoever else they may throw bones to in that category, I just need to see her get actual actress nominees, and that was the first step. I know Gotham's don't matter in the grand scheme of things, but the Gothams didn't even throw her into lead; they put her into breakthrough. Granted, they did the same thing with Stephanie Sue over in the supporting category a few years ago, but I would say if Infinity was supporting, she's almost a lock. Lead, it's a little harder, but I
Mhm.
do agree. Amanda Seyfried is someone who, like, I'm not a believer in the Testament of Van Lee. However, I do believe in Searchlight, and I don't think they're going to let this movie blank if they're truly throwing everything behind her. And I think Seyfried's the best chance of a nomination. Where Seyfried can't even happen, this movie's not getting anything else. But if Seyfried happens, it can get more. So I'm clinging on to her at five, but as a low-key hater of that movie, I would be cool like anyone else in the category leapfrogging her.
I have this weird feeling with The Testament of Anne Lee that the film is too formulaic for people who love art house stuff and too art house for people who are more accustomed to those like very middle of the road biopics. But like the script is just the most formulaic biopic of all time, but accompanied by like the strangest music you could possibly imagine. I can't really see this gelling for many voters. And in that way, I think that Seyfried is kind of hurt by that. Although I think it's easy to come away from the movie, even if you were really put off by the music, and it would be easy to walk away from it going, wow, Amanda Seyfried did an amazing job here.
But I still have Emma Stone in my top five. And that's going along with the Begonia Best Picture push, which I totally get if people have Emma Stone on the downwards trajectory. But I still think she's getting CCA. I think that she will end up with SAG. I think she will end up with a Golden Globe nomination. And I think there's still a pretty strong chance she gets a BAFTA. Is she going to be this year is like Margot Robbie getting every single precursor and missing at the end of the day? Maybe, but I am going to keep her here with the overall Begonia package. But if Begonia keeps falling down, where I still don't think it is, because the audience scores are doing what it needs. Its box office holds have been pretty phenomenal. I get its Metacritic isn't to the point where you would want it to be for a Yorgos movie, but I still think that the audience is built in. Focus is doing a good job of getting this in front of the right people. And I think with how you could say the 10th slot is open, this movie does have passion. It's just, does it have the package to go along with the passion?
I still just don't believe in Emma Stone or Begonia here. This could be a bit of bias because I didn't think that I saw anything from Emma Stone here that I haven't seen before. I think Emma Stone is potentially the best actor that we have working right now. She is a fearless performer who's proven time and time again that there are roles that she can play that absolutely no one else could play. But to me, Emma Stone and Begonia, I didn't feel the same sense of bravery. I felt a comfort zone there, which is something I rarely ever feel from her. And I do think that if you have Emma Stone in the top five, which granted, I have her ranked number 7 right now, I think it could happen. But at that point, I think you would have to also have Jesse Plemons in, kind of because I feel like he outshines her in every single scene that they share together. That's obviously not how the Oscars work because the categories are not the same level of crowded. I would say that Best Actor is far more crowded this year than Best Actress.
Well, before we hop over to the best leading actor category, we joked about it. Kate Hudson, she's still, I would say, on the peripheral just because of, like you said, how weak the category is. I'll include Jennifer Lawrence in that same Kate Hudson range of
Mhm.
because of the love for the actress, maybe she pops up in places of 6, Golden Globes, CCA, but stuff like SAG, stuff like BAFTA, I'm not really seeing seeing the path for either of them at the moment, especially because they would be low nominees. Where if you're pulling a low nominated leading actress, you probably take a Rose Byrne before you take Lawrence or Hudson.
So Lawrence, I can see happen, despite the fact that like audiences hated this movie. Audiences were always going to hate this movie. Unfortunately, I do have to say, Dylan, I did tell you so. That's what a Lynn Ramsey movie is, and I'm sure now you see why. At the beginning of the year, I was like, Dill, please watch one Lynn Ramsey movie. You'll know what you're getting into here. But with Jennifer Lawrence, the thing that holds her up is that this is still being seen as career best work by many people. Kate Hudson, on the other hand, I just saw Song Sung Blue this week and I really disliked that movie. All she's doing here is like charming Midwest. Oh, she's just a charming Midwestern mom. Like she's just, oh, you betcha. And of course, like later in the movie, there are some things that happen to the character, and it's tragedy after tragedy. Didn't do anything for me. Granted, will get a Golden Globe nomination. Yeah, I don't know. People still hyping this one up, I think are crazy. I don't know how you could have this in your Oscar 5 at this point.
You just mentioned Jesse Plemons and lead actor. If you're considering Stone, you should consider Plemons. And guess what? I do. He's my fifth slot at the moment.
Really? You found a way.
I found a
How?
way, and the way was actually pretty easy. Shout out to our commenters, Wagner Moore. I'm not going to put him in. I don't care what he does, unless he actually wins the Globe and gets a BAFTA nomination. I'm not doing it. So it's really at that point, Plemons or the Clune Dog, Clooners United. I just don't believe in Jay Kelly, and so the
Man.
choice there was pretty easy. And I think Plemons can get some critics' love, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about that battle at number one, because even though you may be dressed up as Ghetto Pat, I'm pretty sure you have the other guy winning.
Nope. I
Oh,
got Leo.
okay. Let's
Well,
hear it. Let's
because
hear it.
okay, here's the thing. If I have one battle after another winning Best Picture in the past 5 years, there's only been one Best Picture that has not brought its lead along for a win. Coda's the only one. Leonardo DiCaprio is doing everything he needs to. This is, I think, up there with his career best. It's a top five Leo performance. He is part of the reason that this movie succeeds the way that it does. And if this movie is the sweeper that I think it is across many of the categories we have, then I don't see how Leo does not pick up at least a handful of precursors going into Oscar night. And if it is that battle between Leo has some, Timmy has some. We've been saying this for years now. In a tight race in a lead acting category, the winner comes from the stronger film. And One Battle After Another is stronger than Marty Supreme. Unless I can see a path for Timothée Chalamet sweeping the season, clean sweeping, locking Leo out everywhere at SAG, CCA, at BAFTA, unless he locks him out everywhere, then we've got a tight race. And at that point, Leo kind of has to come out on top.
It won't be one battle after another, because I think this race will be determined from the very first award show. Golden Globes, they're up first, and they have the battle of the two here, Leo and Timmy, and comedy, just like last year, Timmy versus Brody and drama. And the winner there, I think, will just win and win and win, and then we'll win the Oscar. So a Timmy sweep could happen, or what you're saying too, of Leo wins, and he'll continue to win because One Battle is so strong in picture and will pair with the Best Picture win.
Not really, because the Globes went Demi Moore last year. I remember at least saying Mikey Madison's going to win the Globe, and then it's gonna snowball effect, and that's not what happened. It became a very tight race all the way to the end, and I could see the Globes go with Timmy, and that's not how the season ends up being.
So after our top two, that's where we get to some of the interesting stuff, because most people, I think, unanimously agree it's Timmy v. Leo for the win, unless you have the more truthers out there. But number three, I feel confident that Michael B. Jordan's number three. I think regardless of your thoughts about Sinners, anywhere else, oh, it's going to be like Barbie, like Dune, like whatever, I think that Michael B. Jordan has shown so far in this season that he is a selling point right alongside Ryan Coogler. And I think with this category, with the placements, he has a very strong chance to win the Golden Globe drama. And maybe BAFTA screws him out due to weird BAFTA shenanigans, but CCA certainly is going to nominate him. He seems like SAG bait. He's playing two roles. He's the face of the movie. He's someone who you could argue has yet to get his recognition at the Academy. And I think everything's just building for him to be the acting representation for Sinners, where all year long we're like, oh, will it be Lindo? Will it be Caden? And all along it was just the guy who plays two characters.
just before this video, when I was redoing my predictions, moved Michael B. Jordan out of my top
Oh,
five because I realized the only reason that I have him in was because of Santa Barbara. That stat that the Santa Barbara Film Festival has been awarding a prize to one actor every single year since 2004. And in that time frame, the last 20 years, there's only been two actors that have not been nominated for the Oscar after receiving the Santa Barbara Tribute Prize. That was huge. But up until that prize, I had Michael B. Jordan pretty far away from the top five because I just didn't think that the role had enough to it. The only reason I put him in was because of that stat. So why not make it three times in the last 20 years? Right? There are other performances right now that I want to fit into my top five. And ultimately, even if Michael B. Jordan edges one of those other performances, namely Ethan Hawke, George Clooney, and Lee Byung-hun, if he knocks one of those guys out, then, I was wrong. But right now, I'm feeling Margot Robbie on this. I'm feeling that he gets all of those other nominations and then just misses out at the last minute. But I do think he gets SAG, he gets Critics' Choice, he gets Globe, and then BAFTA might snub him. At the end of the day, he's a blockbuster actor, which we've seen the Academy sometimes just leaves out those big blockbuster performers.
if he wins the Globe drama, do you put him in or do you keep him out?
I don't know why he would win the Globe drama. It's maybe I would, maybe, but that feels like a weird win. I'm going to be interested to see how this shakes down, but right now I just wanted to fit in Lee Byung-hun after seeing no other choice.
It would be such a base nomination.
It would be such a good nomination. He's so goddamn good in that movie. And, since I do have no other choice in many other categories, why not put Lee Byung-hun in? And yeah, after seeing Jake Kelly, George Clooney is just like perfect bait for what the actors branch will go for. He's playing an actor who is a workaholic and genuinely I think that this is George Clooney's best performance. I am hesitating because I love him in The Descendants, but I do think that this might be the best work that he's ever done. It's extremely vulnerable. He's doing the playing himself thing better than he's ever done it, because that's the point of the movie. And Ethan Hawke is just on that up and up and up trajectory right now. People are saying that he might be in win contention for it, which I think is crazy. But Ethan Hawke is an incredible performer. He's got the buzz. He's where the buzz is right now. But granted, the weird thing about Oscar season is we're predicting right now in mid-November, and things are going to look very different in a couple of months. So does Ethan Hawke have the juice right now? Yeah. Is he going to have the juice in January? We'll have to see. But right now, he feels really good to be solidly in that top five. So I've said my top five, well, really top six, which includes DiCaprio, Chalamet, Hawke, Clooney, Lee, and Jordan. Where are you at for those remaining spots? I know you said Plemons, which to me is crazy. I've got Plemons all the way down at number 10.
I mean, I think the Plymouth Stone Begonia package, all of it, even with adapted screenplay, you're either all in or you're all out. I don't think it's going to be like a spotty thing where like one makes it but the other one doesn't. So that's why I currently do have them in. But if we see further down the line that Young can actually get three movies in, if Netflix is going to get two movies in with Jay Kelly, or if something else like Ann Lee or something else arises, then my Begonia stuff goes from three, maybe four nominations down to one or zero. So I currently have Michael B. Jordan at my number three for everything I said before. Speaking about the Golden Globe drama and films that are comedic, but are they comedies? Blue Moon, I laughed my ass off during that movie. If it went drama, Ethan Hawke would probably have that win.
Yeah.
Pretty likely. Blue Moon is living, and he fits the Bill Nighy slot of he just gets in. He's not winning anything. He's not overtly missing like 10 down below type slots. He's just kind of in there. I would say my number six, though, is the Kalunar himself, because everything you said and the fact that Netflix is great at acting nominations. Jay Kelly's just a weird one for me, because if I put Clooney in, then I kind of have to put in screenplay. If I put in screenplay, then maybe I need to consider a score. And if I have score, then maybe I need to consider picture. And I don't really want to do that quite yet.
I think that you can have, and I do have this, three nominations for Jay Kelly, not including picture.
Netflix is number two, who also has a lead actor contender, Joel Edgerton. Why is he not up here in the top six?
Joel Edgerton is fantastic in Train Dreams. The thing is, though, it's a very quiet performance. For the most part, He's not the showy one in this ensemble. And I think walking away from the movie, it's really easy to focus on another performer who shows up very briefly and then leaves. Joel Edgerton is really good, but I don't think he needs to be a part of this movie's package. In fact, I might even think that putting him at number 7 here is a bit high because my number 8 is Wagner Moura, the secret agent, which Brazilians out there, I know these two dumb Americans, which I'm Canadian, these two dumb Americans are going to keep doubting this, but Wagner Moura does keep climbing up my list. It's undeniable that there is buzz around him for this.
He does have a fighting chance. It's just how real is that chance going to be down the line? Is it talk that's going to actually come to fruition through regional critics, through stuff that isn't just the Golden Globes? That's what we'll have to see. Because even like last year, Fernando Torres got the Oscar nom, but didn't even make the BAFTA long list. So like people saying that Moore is a lock for BAFTA, maybe he could overcome where they didn't last year, but also BAFTA show that that's not really the range they're looking for their nominees. Someone I did see this past week, I would love to reinsert themselves inside the Oscar race, but I think the movie's just a little bit too mellow. Is Will Arnett and Is This Thing On? I think that he will get the Golden Globe drama nomination. I think he is phenomenal inside that. I would say that's his best performance to date. Even if I love Job from Arrested Development so much, I think this is his most impressive work to date. Is This Thing On is a movie that, if it had the backing, could do stuff. It just doesn't have, at least at this point, it doesn't seem like Searchlight is giving that its proper backing. And we've had like contenders that have just dropped and dropped and dropped all season. Jeremy Allen White, Dwayne Johnson. Are they going to happen now? Probably not. And Oscar Isaac and Frankenstein, all the talks for his co-star, and that leaves us with one more actor I do want to mention, and it is the magician himself coming from Nuremberg, Russell Crowe. He'll get Golden Globe drama. He'll make the BAFTA long list. He's coming. He's coming. Judgment Day.
Honestly, I think Dwayne Johnson, the reports of that film being dead are greatly exaggerated. It's still getting a makeup nomination. I feel very confident in that. I feel very confident. It's not fucking Hamnet, dude, for dirt on the fingernails. Or what are you talking about? The Smashing Machine, they made The Rock unrecognizable for like 90% of that movie. And I think if you're in makeup, people are still watching the movie. People are still seeing it. And his work is impressive. I think that it's very likely he gets into Globe drama. Who knows? Maybe we could have a small resurgence. Granted, he is my 9th place contender right now. I don't think that there's a strong shot for it. And I just want to briefly circle back to Wagner Moura and just say, we have still yet to see if the buzz and the hype around him is just purely internet driven. Brazil will fight for their fave actors, and it is just a thing that happens. So what we need to see is Neon, who's distributing the film, going to push it the way that it needs to be pushed? Or is it going to get lost in the mix?
Well, you talk about people who will go to bat for their acting nomination. Brazil wants Wagner Moura. You know who else really wants an acting win to happen this year?
Ariana Grande, Arianators. All right, everyone, we never do this. We often record, and then usually it takes us like a week to get those predictions out. And if we say something and then we're proven crazy wrong by something that happens in the meantime, we just go, whatever. However, this week we said in our original recording that Ariana Grande is just going to walk to a win. And in the time between that, not only have we both seen Wicked for Good, but we have been reading a lot of what other people are saying about Wicked for Good. And we do have to adjust some things based on our own receptions of the film and the receptions from critics. Audiences are really liking it, which is great. And off the bat, I'm just going to say I'm keeping it in picture. I'm keeping it in basically every category. But we do have to talk about supporting actress because the path that I saw for Ariana Grande winning this award, I'm not seeing as much after seeing the movie. And that's a shame for me to say because Ariana Grande was my favorite supporting performance of last year. I know that there's probably people with pitchforks watching this video saying you guys are just haters. No, I saw the movie at an early screening last year and immediately said Ariana Grande is my favorite supporting performance of the year. I think she's fantastic. And watching this, I didn't get the same thing from her. I'm keeping her nominated, but I no longer can see her winning because I can't see people who didn't vote for her in part one watching this and going, oh, now she's earned my vote. I see a lot more people watching it and going, well, she was really good in the first one and she's good here, but I didn't vote for her last time and she hasn't convinced me this time either. And I think that's going to be something we see through the season.
As for me with Grande's performance, I shared a lot of your sentiment upon my first viewing, where I think my biggest issue heading into For Good was I was just expecting the world. I was someone who's been pretty vocal about I don't like the stage production, and I found that Chu and company really just defied all the expectations with Wicked Part 1. Revisiting the movie, a lot of my stuff, knowing what to expect was kind of resolved, and I found ways to really enjoy Grande's performance this time around because obviously she doesn't have the LOL moment, she doesn't have the quotables left and right, she's not the fun, bubbly personality, but I do think she brings a new aspect to this character. And I think that, yes, I do agree. If some people didn't vote for her last time, they may be inclined to be like, well, this performance wasn't as fun as the last one. This role is good enough. This performance is good enough. This movie is in the conversation. And I think that really is where Grande's path to remain the number one in the category would be is due to the weakness of her potential competition is the fact that she was around last year. People clearly loved her performance last year. And you can make an argument if Zoe Saldana wasn't there, Grande would have swept last season. The mentality I'm going to take with her going forward is she just remains my number one until we hit the first televised awards show. She loses, she's not going to win anything. She wins, she's just going to go on to win everything.
For most of the year, we've had Ariana Grande at number one because we knew what to expect with the performance. We'd seen her work before, and we were just looking at the rest of the field and saying, well, she's just winning by default because what is the rest of this category? But I don't think there's been a single year where at the end we feel that way and we just say, oh, well, that's a default win. There's always passion for the winner at the end of the year. I am just really struggling to see a world in which people are converted from non-Ariana voters to Ariana voters. But that leads me to, if I don't have Ariana Grande, who do I have winning at this point? Now, I don't have Teyana Taylor, which is what a lot of people are saying. There is an angle for Taylor where if One Battle After Another is just that big, it's just that huge of a sensation, it could just sweep every category. But I think if Teyana Taylor wins, I would also need to have Sean Penn winning, which I don't have. I think that also Inga Ibsdottir Lilius has a good shot of sweeping the trifecta prizes, having a full-on critic domination. Sentimental Value continues to be one of the most beloved movies of the year, and every single person that I know that goes to see this movie comes out of it saying, Inga Ibsdottir Lilius. Oh my God, the sister. Oh my God, the sister. Everyone's talking about her. Critics are really going to go in full force for Inga, and that could be her path to a win. But who am I going with for real? I'm picking Amy Madigan in Weapons. I think the Oscar Expert is doing it as well right now, and shout out to them. They were among the very, very first to predict The Substance last year, and to go as hard for that as they did. Amy Madigan is someone that I'm really coming around to. Now, there are some detracting factors for it. For one thing, it's a horror movie, and why would we get a horror acting winner this year when Demi Moore just lost last year? And you could also say, why would Amy Madigan for Weapons win when she'd likely be the only nomination for her film? So let me counter. In terms of lone nominee winners for supporting categories, I looked back through the last 50 years across supporting actor and supporting actress, and there have been 6 instances in which the winner of a supporting category has been the only nomination for their film. That was Christopher Plummer in Beginners, Penelope Cruz in Vicky Cristina Barcelona, Angelina Jolie, Girl Interrupted, Marissa Tomei, My Cousin Vinny, Jack Palance for City Slickers, and Linda Hunt for The Year of Living Dangerously. So 6 of those, no other nominations, and they won in a supporting category. There have been many, many more supporting winners that have had only 1 or 2 other nominations come along with it. And I think that there is an angle at this point where you could say that Weapons gets a screenplay nomination. You could say it gets a makeup nomination. I don't think that either of those are too big of a stretch, especially if Amy Madigan is picking up steam, picking up steam, picking up steam, and, building awareness around the movie. Also, in terms of horror winners, going back as far as I felt like I wanted to, as I felt was relevant, there's only been one supporting performer who has won in a horror movie, and it is Ruth Gordon for Rosemary's Baby. That is a really apt comparison for Amy Madigan because she was a legendary older performer winning for a creepy role in a big horror movie that was a financial success. And Rosemary's Baby only had two nominations total, Ruth Gordon and screenplay. We could see the exact same thing for Weapons, where we get Amy Madigan and we get screenplay. That is a very possible scenario. Also, Ruth Gordon was very much the same, where when she won for Rosemary's Baby, it was partially off the back of this is an older performer who has never been given their due. A lot of comparisons here that could work in her favor. And earlier I said Inga Ibsdottir Lilius can sweep the trifecta, can dominate critics. You know who else can do that? Amy Madigan. And that is her path to a victory.
I would say, let alone just winning, that's the path just to get over the hurdle of the nomination. And it's something that at this point last year, many people, including us, was really hesitating. Demi Moore going down to do that. But after the initial Golden Globes nomination and the eventual win in that category, that's really helped encourage a lot of these critics groups to get out there to vote for Demi Moore, to vote for Margaret Qualley, and to push them up into the upper echelon of potential nominations. And Demi Moore inevitably being the runner-up for the best lead actress contender. And I think Madigan's in the same boat for everything that you just said there. My biggest hesitation is going to be, will people do it? Or is it something that we all think that they will do, and then it comes up short? It will be make or break these next, 2-3 weeks, as regional critics start to flow in and we get the first Golden Globes and Critics' Choice nominations out of the bunch. But to talk to some other points and people that you talked about before, I do believe that if Grande does fall off, if she does not win at Globes to kick off the season, that it would be with Tiana Taylor and One Battle After Another for exactly what you just said there, off of the strength of the movie. When I initially saw One Battle After Another, my instant reaction to her performance was going back to Mahershala Ali in Moonlight. He makes such an impression in the first third of that movie that you think about him throughout the runtime, and then inevitably he went on to go on to be the sole acting win for that movie. But the difference here with One Battle is Taylor wouldn't be the only one in win competition. You can make a case for three people could win for this movie. Leo in lead actor, Sean Penn in supporting actor, and Tiana Taylor in supporting actress. And I know each category is different with their own competitions, but it would kind of be weird if she was the sole winner of that bunch, just when you take in case of the 2-hour and 40-minute movie and she's in less than 15% of the runtime. But I would say she would be my first alternative to Ariana Grande. And I agree with you about the sentiment value, girlies. I think that everyone is saying Inga is who we're taking away from, and I think that she'll have a very similar path to like Borisov and Honora last year, where he should be the type of performance to miss out on SAG or to miss out on CCA, but he just gets in every single place. I'm more in the camp that Inga isn't really in the win conversation, but with the nature of the supporting actress category, where if sentiment value ends up becoming like a top 3 player, then maybe she can definitely poke a few of those wins, and once she wins one, it could be clearance to be like, hey, she can go on to win all of them. Rounding out my 5, I have Elle Fanning, which she missed out last year for a complete unknown. I think based off of the goodwill from that performance last year, also the lack of competition here, she will find her way into the 5. And we have both now seen Marty Supreme. We're under embargo in terms of a review, but you're allowed to talk about awards prospects. Odessa does things, Paltrow gets done, and therefore I would put Odessa into the 5.
Odessa would be such a cool nomination. It reminds me a lot of Mikey Madison's work in Honora last year, where it's just like you are seeing a hustler just going for it. There's layers to her work, and she is fighting at every moment. And then Gwyneth Paltrow's kind of just there. I would say that if Gwyneth gets in, this isn't like a Jamie Lee Curtis, Stephanie Hsu type situation, because Jamie Lee Curtis was a major source of comedic relief and was a big part of Everything Ever All at Once. Older voters came away from that movie really relating to Jamie Lee Curtis's character. I find it hard to imagine those same people relating to Gwyneth Paltrow's character, who is like faded movie star who's hot and sleeps with Timothy Chalamet. I think maybe a lot of voters will want to relate, but I don't think that they'll be able to relate the way that they were to Jamie Lee Curtis.
And really, the supporting actress category after that, there's not much else to talk about. I think it's worth throwing shout outs to Emily Blunt and the Smashing Machine. Just the trajectory for that movie continues to go down and down and down. We've seen that SAG routinely will show up for her. Maybe they will this time around, but also it would be weird if she got a nomination and not the face of the movie with Dwayne Johnson, which his presence inside the awards race seems to be going down and down as well. And then there is Regina Hall for One Battle After Another. I know there's a pocket of people online who really love this performance, and it has those same sort of vibes, not the performance, but the pocket of people who are so committed for this performance that Benicio has in the other category. The difference between these two is that I think Benicio's performance is more quotable, it's more memeable, it's more memorable.
I also want to do a shout out for Haley Steinfeld from Sinners. People are still talking about her character. There's so much discourse. And while I know that you've been buzzing about Wunmi Mosaku for a lot of the year, I do think that Haley Steinfeld gets her really big, menacing moment mid movie that to me feels like if one of the Sinners girls gets in, I think it's Haley Steinfeld, not just because of that big moment, but because she is the star. She is known. She has that sort of track record going for her.
You make a great point there with Steinfeld being the bigger name and also having that big shining moment. Oddly enough, to compare them to another Warner Brothers movie that got a surprising supporting actress nomination of Barbie with America Ferrera, I think if one of these two women goes on to happen, we'll see them first pop up at either CCA or Globe, and then they'll be oddly shocking on the BAFTA long list, and that's all we'll have going into nominations this year. Steinfeld has the name recognition to her, but I would also say to pull another argument of like the more of the heart of the movie, the more of the compassion of the movie fits more with Wumi's character. But again, I wouldn't put any of them into my top six, maybe even seven at this point. I think they're both very far off. Where if you really need to reach for someone, I would say if one of them happens, that's because Sentimental Value is only getting one woman in, or Marty Supreme doesn't get either of their girls in.
Sorry, Dill, did you just say 6'7"?
I did. I did.
Okay, well, with that, let's get back to the pre-recorded video.
Supporting actor, though, we could have someone win their third Oscar, or you could have someone win who is under 30 at the moment. And you could also have someone win who has never been nominated before. I feel like you will have someone that you want to win. I will have someone that I will make a case to win. And then I have another person who I think is just going to sweep.
Interesting. So you're going to make a case for Paul Mescal. You think that Sean Penn's going to sweep?
I
That's
think
insane.
so. Yes.
Because I don't see a world where this category is clean whatsoever. I think that there's going to be different people taking it everywhere. Stellan Skarsgård, again, industry giant, has never been nominated before. It is a perfect storm. He's in one of the most critically acclaimed movies of the year. Even Sean Penn has been campaigning for Sentimental Value. He's been running screenings of that movie and talking about how good Stellan Skarsgård is. And frankly, there's been as much Sean Penn shooting himself in the foot every single time Sean Penn opens his mouth.
Maybe I'm letting my bias play a little bit too big of a part here. And that's why I'll make the case for Paul Mescal, because I think Paul Mescal would be the alternative option here. He's right here. Look at this guy. Everyone our age loves him. He's doing what I think most people who have seen the movie says is one of, if not his best performance to date. And I think that they have the opportunity. I think if you want to make the case for Timmy, an actor, a lot of the same stuff you can say for Timmy, I think could also apply for Mescal if you take out the whole, he's been in X amount of Best Picture nominations. He's built up this catalog. He's worked with a lot of people over the years, and he's doing a very showy and you could say partially transformative type role. If Hamnet can become a possible Best Picture winner contender, he would be that win to really solidify the fact that this could upset.
Break my heart right now. Do you have Stellan Skarsgård at number 3?
I do.
Damn you. Damn you. I'm taking the hat off.
Yeah, take the hat off. Let's get with it, because Stellan Skarsgård has an argument to be made. My biggest thing with Skarsgård is, and this is where we really drastically disagree, can Skarsgård be the lone win for his movie? I don't think so.
Do you really think it's losing international feature?
I've been on that even before I saw Accident. What we consider with this category in years past, they're going to go for the movie that has the more passion. And if we get to the point, and honestly, to your argument, if No Other Choice is a Best Picture contender, I think No Other Choice would then win that category. I think international feature, when we have multiple
No.
nominations for Best Picture, is going to go with the movie that has the most passion behind it. And I think you can say Sentimental Value has a more broader reach, but I think if you're looking at ballots and pure number ones, there's going to be more accident ones than sentimental value ones. And I think No Other Choice can make an argument for more number ones than either of those two. But if it's not in picture, which I don't currently have it for, I wouldn't put it there. But if you do have a case for all three Neon movies are in picture, hell, I might say sentimental value is number three.
I don't understand what you're talking about when you say that sentimental value doesn't have passion to have number ones. The only thing against sentimental value right now, in my mind, and the only reason that people are talking about it as though it's declining in the race is that it hasn't expanded yet. Like it came out in theaters last weekend and it's just started to expand. It was just an accident has had a month to be seen by people. Sentimental value is just starting to be seen. I don't see that not having the passion. It beat Accident at TIFF. It was more talked about. Yeah, it didn't win the Palm, but sentimental value was more talked about at Cannes than it was just an accident. It is more talked about everywhere it goes. It is just that right now in November, it was just an accident has been seen by the general public, at least the general public that cares about awards, and sentimental value is still in the process of expanding. Also, I did. This is maybe you're gonna call me crazy now. I think that you deserve that. Um, I just moved It Was Just an Accident out of my
Yeah.
top 10 for Best Picture to
I
fit
saw
Train
that.
Dreams in.
That is the crazy part to me. This isn't the Train Dreams segment. Train Dreams is nowhere to be seen in these acting categories. I think that's
Ah,
for a
ah,
reason because
ah,
it's not gonna.
ah, ah,
Hey,
ah.
we can talk
William
about it in
H.
the next
Macy.
category.
I have
Yeah.
William H. Macy, Train Dreams, number five, Best Supporting Actor. We'll talk about
Hey,
that in a
man.
moment.
I
Just
mean,
going back to Stellan Skarsgård, he is the, again, industry titan, has never been awarded. This is the type of thing like we see with Christopher Plummer, with Jeff Bridges back in 2009 for Crazy Heart. It's just like it's their time, it's their moment, and that is Stellan Skarsgård for me. He, until proven wrong, I will say he is the career win. And it helps that it is also the year's best performance in this category. I know that you disagree. I know that you thought that his parts were boring in the movie, but I think both of us deserve to have our biased
yeah.
win picks until proven wrong. But yeah, Sean Penn, my number two, Paul Mescal, number three. Paul Mescal, I think, is the best part of Hamnet. Even though I didn't like the movie, I think he's really, really good. I don't see the narrative for him to win because I do feel like both Penn and Skarsgård have more industry cachet than he does. And he's so young. He's so young. And youth in the male categories does not win you awards. He's so early in his career, and I can easily see people say, well, we'll have another chance soon. We'll have another chance soon. Let's give him something else. I do also have Benicio del Toro, and I think we get a double nomination for One Battle After Another. And I do think that that's part of where Penn loses some steam. And I just saw Train Dreams. William H. Macy is the person that I think you leave that theater thinking about, and he is another person who he hasn't been nominated since Fargo, I believe. It's like a transformative role. And when we talk about how the male acting categories will often snub the young performers for the veterans, this is where I think William H. Macy snipes out Jacob Elordi and knocks out that gorgeous Frankenstein performance. And we get a Netflix actor in here, but it's not Adam Sandler and it's not Jacob Elordi. It's William H. Macy.
Sentimental value, I get your points for it. I get the points for Stellan there. I just think, and I get the difference because this wasn't a whole career narrative last year, but I feel like so many things that you're saying about Stellan was the same stuff you were saying about Guy Pearce last year, which ultimately never really took off once we got to the actual awards. But then I guess for the whole Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, you're laughing at Penn, you're scared of Penn, you are mesmerized by his performance, and Benicio is cool. He's fun, but he's not the thing you're going to be thinking of down the line. He's the thing that you're want to talk about online, but he's not the thing that you're thinking about when you're writing your names on the ballots there. But For William H. Macy, I would be down for that. I'm not a huge Train James fan, but I am a fan of Shameless. I just was watching before we hopped on here. Frank Gallagher, get on that nomination. But hopefully it's not for Elordi because I do agree that Elordi is someone who has been so fun, but I would totally not be shocked to see him to be the one to fall out the race just due to his youth, especially due to his previous films that he's been in. What we kind of see, especially the later we get inside the race, is who does the studio want to happen? And the studio, which is Netflix here, they pick Sandman, Elordi, or I guess William H. Macy. And we'll see where they throw their money behind, unless the critics just say, hey, you have to pick Elordi, or you have to pick Sandler, or you have to pick William H. Macy.
Critics have been going so crazy for Train Dreams. Like it is so acclaimed.
I just think Train Dreams is going to be one of those fool's gold things that we get into the season where there's so much hype at the fest, but then when it comes time for its limited releases, which right now it's doing nothing. When it hits Netflix in a week, it's not going to even show up in the top 10 for past the first day. And it's going to be one of those things where people's like, you're the critics. You're supposed to be doing stuff like this, like Sorry Baby, like TV Glow from last year, and then they just don't do it.
Maybe, and I could be just chasing the wrong thing, but right now I just feel in my gut that Train Dreams is a small passion pick that I think a good amount of people are going to see, are going to fall in love with, and that'll be enough to push it. Now, one thing I want to put forward, if you're so high on It Was Just an Accident, do you have the actor who plays Pegleg anywhere for supporting actor with his 15-minute unbroken take at the end?
No, because I don't think if Accident was pushing actors harder, I think it would be like Women Talking, where they just wouldn't pick one because of the ensemble. Personally, I don't know if I would have Peg Leg in the top like 3 performances.
But like,
shout outs.
I feel like if Accident was in English and you had an unbroken 15-minute take on someone's face, they would be Oscar nominated 100%.
No, I 100% agree. And I think that's the issue that the Academy has rectified in the last few years is getting more acclaim for these international non-English speaking performances, which we saw last year Fernando Torres got in. But typically, if these performances happen, it's because they are ultimately undeniable and they're getting every single precursor, which I don't know if anyone in Accident would get every single precursor. I wouldn't be shocked though if someone could break their way into like the Golden Globes number 6, because they have 6, and Globes have shown in the last few years that they will pull someone completely random for that number 6 slot that isn't even in the conversation anywhere else. It's just the issue with Accident is going back to Women Talking is who do you pull?
I do think the Academy always has awarded international performances, but when they do, it's from Europe or it's from Latin America. And they have historically been really bad at awarding Asian performers and Middle East and North African performers. I mean, I do have Lee Byung-hun getting nominated, but let's just remember that Parasite won Best Picture without an acting nomination. Slumdog Millionaire won Best Picture without an acting nomination. When we go to films that are coming out of Asia or even just set in Asia, starring a cast of primarily Asian performers, typically the Academy is not receptive to Asian performers. But yeah, I think that's basically. Oh, we should also say Adam Sandler, no chance.
Hey man, I've been saying that for a while, and I get why people want him. I get it's something that we want to see happen, but I also want to see James Cameron director, and I'm not putting James Cameron a director this time around.
Not this time around, but we'll have to see. Let us know in the comments. Are you team Skarsgård? Are you team Penn? Or are you team wrong about it being someone else?
Pascal has a great shot to upset if Hammett eventually rivals One Battle for the Best Picture win.
Oh God, I'd be so sad.
Hey man,
don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. Anyways, that brings us to the end of this video. As always, if you like what you hear, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. We always love to hear what you have to say. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. My name's Matt.
My name's Dyl, and this has been Fantasy Filmball.